23. Black R&B legends and celebrities who had the worst partners. They had the fame, the fortune, and the fans. But what they didn't have was protection from the partners who nearly destroyed them. From secret affairs and emotional manipulation to brutal violence and public humiliation, these 23 Black R&B legends and celebrities suffered through some of the most toxic relationships ever exposed. You thought you knew their stories. Think again. This isn't gossip, it's survival. Watch until the end to uncover the truth behind the headlines. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Legends of Black Excellence is where real stories live and your voice matters. Aaliyah. Aaliyah Dana Houghton, known to the world as Aaliyah, was more than just a rising star. She was a phenomenon. By the time she released her debut album Age Ain't Nothing But a Number in 1994, her sultry voice, cool confidence, and stylish presence had captured the attention of the music industry. But beneath her rapid ascent was a dark, unsettling chapter few wanted to confront at the time: her secret and unlawful relationship with R. Kelly. At only 15 years old, Aaliyah was manipulated into marrying Kelly, who was 27 at the time. The union, later revealed through court documents, was forged using falsified records claiming she was 18. Though it was annulled in February 1995 by her family, the psychological and emotional toll left a shadow on her youth. Kelly, already a powerful figure in the music business, exercised undue control over her career and movements, isolating her from family and mentors during a crucial phase of her development. Aaliyah never publicly addressed the details of their bond. Her silence was interpreted by many as protection not of Kelly, but of her own peace. However, insiders noted that she carried the trauma privately, choosing to distance herself completely from Kelly after their separation. Even during interviews when asked about him, her evasiveness hinted at deeper wounds that the public could only speculate about. Following the annulment, Aaliyah rebuilt her career with determination. Partnering with Timbaland and Missy Elliott, she crafted a new sound and image that broke away from her early narrative. Albums like One in a Million and Aaliyah showcased her growth and resilience, blending futuristic beats with vulnerability and strength. Yet despite her public success, that formative betrayal remained an unspoken ache. Tragically, her life was cut short at just 22 in a plane crash on August 25, 2001. Though her passing was unrelated to her past relationship, many fans and scholars have pointed out that her early trauma, especially involving a manipulative, much older man, was part of the complex legacy she left behind. Years later, in 2021, R. Kelly was convicted of numerous counts related to sexual exploitation and racketeering, vindicating the fears many had long harbored. Aaliyah, one of his earliest known victims, never lived to see that justice served. Her story is a heartbreaking reminder that the most gifted voices can be silenced too soon, and that fame doesn't protect against predation. Aaliyah's legacy endures, but her stolen innocence remains one of R&B's darkest chapters. Emmanuel Eboué. Emmanuel Eboué, once a celebrated defender for Arsenal Football Club and the Ivory Coast national team, experienced one of the most shocking falls from grace, not due to injury or scandal, but because of a marriage that stripped him of everything. At the height of his career, Eboué was a fan favorite, fast, energetic, and fiercely loyal on the pitch. But behind the scenes, he faced a domestic situation that would destroy his fortune, health, and spirit. Eboué married Aurélie Bertrand, a Belgian woman with whom he had 3 children. Their relationship seemed stable during his peak playing years, but it became apparent that he had placed immense trust in her, not only emotionally, but financially. According to Eboué, he had allowed her full control over the couple's finances, including property ownership, legal documents, and bank accounts. When their marriage deteriorated and eventually ended in divorce in 2017, Eboué was left with virtually nothing. In the legal proceedings, Aurélie was awarded all of the couple's properties in England and Europe, including their London mansion. Eboué, without access to his former assets and unable to secure consistent legal representation, found himself homeless and deeply in debt. He admitted in a raw interview that he had at times slept on friends' floors, and even feared taking his own life due to the psychological toll. This was not merely the story of financial ruin, but of emotional devastation. Eboué revealed that the separation from his children who remained with their mother caused him more pain than losing his wealth. He also struggled with mental health issues, including depression, anxiety, and thoughts of self-harm. Once cheered in stadiums filled with tens of thousands, Eboué found himself forgotten and alone, grappling with the betrayal of someone he had loved unconditionally. Though he attempted a return to football and received some public support, including from former teammates and the Arsenal community, his life never fully returned to stability. His story stands as a sobering reminder of how fame and fortune offer no protection from personal tragedy. It also highlights the importance of financial literacy and the risks of blindly trusting even those closest. Eboué's tale is tragic, not because he made reckless public decisions, but because a private betrayal dismantled the foundation of his life. From millionaire footballer to financial exile, his fall remains one of the most heartbreaking cautionary tales in both sports and celebrity culture. Robin Givens. Robin Givens, a rising star in the 1980s, had it all: intelligence, beauty, and a promising acting career. Best known for her role in Head of the Class, she captivated audiences with her on-screen charm. But her marriage to boxing legend Mike Tyson in 1988 placed her in the center of a volatile, high-profile relationship that ultimately overshadowed her talents. The union between Givens and Tyson began quickly and publicly, culminating in a wedding that surprised many. On the outside, it looked like a fairy tale Hollywood actress marries the most ferocious athlete of the era. But within months, the dream unraveled into a nightmare. Givens later revealed that she endured horrifying physical abuse during their brief marriage, describing it as a period marked by torture, pure hell, worse than anything I could imagine. Her now famous 1988 interview with Barbara Walters, during which Tyson sat beside her in chilling silence as she spoke of fear and violence, shocked the world. The couple divorced less than a year after their wedding. But the fallout didn't end there. The public was divided. Some sympathized with her, while others accused her of being manipulative or gold-digging. The backlash from Tyson's fans was intense, and Givens was vilified in the media for years. She later revealed that she never received a settlement or financial compensation from Tyson. In fact, during their divorce proceedings, she walked away without demanding alimony. Her goal, she said, was safety and freedom, not profit. Despite this, her reputation suffered greatly and her acting opportunities diminished. She was reduced to headlines that defined her more by her relationship than her resume. Over the years, Givens has rebuilt her career and spoken out against domestic abuse, using her own story to raise awareness for other survivors. While her name will always be associated with Mike Tyson due to the media circus surrounding their divorce, she has worked tirelessly to redefine herself on her own terms. Robin Givens's experience is a testament to the cruelty of public judgment and the trauma of private violence. She was not merely a woman in a failed celebrity marriage, she was a survivor who dared to speak out when silence was safer. And for that, her voice still matters. Angie Stone. Angie Stone, one of the most respected voices in contemporary soul and R&B, built her legacy on powerful vocals and deeply emotional storytelling. From her early days in the hip-hop trio The Sequence to her solo hits like No More Rain in This Cloud and Brother Stone's artistry spoke of love, resilience, and strength. But behind the empowering lyrics was a woman who had fought and escaped a nightmare marriage that nearly crushed her spirit. In 1992, Stone entered a relationship with Rodney Stone, also known in music circles as Lil Rodney C. The two married, and Angie envisioned a loving, musically harmonious life. Instead, she found herself in a deeply toxic partnership marked by emotional abuse, financial instability, and physical danger. The man she loved became someone unrecognizable, plunging their household into chaos. According to accounts later shared by Stone, Rodney's increasingly erratic behavior created an unsafe environment, especially after he succumbed to substance abuse. Angie's days were consumed with managing his rage, shielding her young child from the fallout, and sacrificing her own career to maintain stability at home. Her dreams were slowly replaced with survival strategies, dodging arguments, covering unpaid bills, and eventually planning an escape. That moment came one rainy evening in the mid-1990s. With only a diaper bag, her infant son, and a few personal belongings, Angie fled the home that had become a battleground. She left behind everything: possessions, emotional investments, and musical ambitions, but not her will to survive. The divorce came soon after ending the legal union, though the psychological wounds would take years to mend. Despite financial struggles and emotional exhaustion, Angie Stone pressed on. Her music became more than just entertainment, it turned into therapy. Her 2001 breakthrough solo album, Mahogany Soul, channeled her pain into grace and healing, earning her critical acclaim and a loyal fan base. She sang for every woman who had endured betrayal, for every mother who had to start over. Though she never made her personal battles the center of her brand, Angie Stone's strength quietly resonated through her artistry. Her journey from controlled spouse to independent icon is not always told in headlines, but it's woven into every lyric she's delivered since. Hers is a story of reclaiming self-worth not through spectacle, but through soulful perseverance. Keke Wyatt. Keke Wyatt, known for her powerhouse vocals and commanding stage presence, has often been described as one of R&B's most vocally gifted performers of her generation. But before she became a beloved figure for her talent and reality TV appearances, Keke was trapped in a marriage that nearly ended in tragedy, one marked by terrifying domestic violence and emotional control. In 2000, at just 18 years old, Wyatt married her road manager, Ramat Morton. What began as a seemingly stable union quickly deteriorated into a household ruled by fear. Friends and family later recounted that Keke often appeared withdrawn and anxious, but the depth of her suffering remained hidden behind closed doors. Her marriage, instead of offering comfort, became a terrifying environment where survival was her daily goal. The abuse escalated over time. In 2002, during one particularly brutal altercation, Wyatt acted in self-defense and stabbed Morton in the leg. The story made headlines, and while many initially rushed to judgment, further details emerged painting a clearer picture. Keke had endured years of physical intimidation, controlling behavior, and emotional breakdown. It was not a moment of rage, it was a desperate act of escape. The incident became a turning point. Though the couple stayed together for several more years, the trauma only deepened. In 2006, she suffered a devastating miscarriage allegedly caused by one of Morton's violent outbursts. The heartbreak further fractured her mental health. In 2009, she finally filed for divorce, cutting ties with a man who had almost cost her everything. Even after leaving him, Wyatt faced enormous challenges. As a young mother of 3, she had to rebuild her personal and professional life from the ground up. The entertainment industry, often unforgiving to women with drama, offered few lifelines. But Keke's talent couldn't be ignored. Her appearances on R&B Divas Atlanta brought her story to the forefront, not for pity, but for empowerment. Wyatt used her platform to speak candidly about domestic violence, becoming a voice for others in similar situations. Her story wasn't just one of pain, it was about overcoming silence, reclaiming dignity, and living loudly in the aftermath. Today, Keke Wyatt continues to record music, raise her family, and remain a beacon of survival not defined by her past, but empowered by it. Evelyn Lozada. Evelyn Lozada. Reality television star and businesswoman, rose to prominence as one of the fiery, outspoken personalities on Basketball Wives. Her boldness, beauty, and ambition captivated millions. But in 2012, Evelyn's whirlwind romance with NFL wide receiver Chad Ochocinco Johnson took a devastating turn, transforming her dream of marital bliss into a public trauma. The two married in a lavish beach ceremony in July 2012. With cameras rolling and tabloids following their every move, they were portrayed as the ultimate celebrity couple. But just 41 days after exchanging vows, their union imploded in a terrifying act of violence. In August, following an argument allegedly sparked by Evelyn discovering a receipt for condoms, Chad headbutted her during a heated confrontation, causing a severe gash on her forehead that required stitches. The incident resulted in Johnson's arrest and immediate release from the Miami Dolphins. More importantly, it marked a life-altering moment for Lozada. Though she had endured emotionally volatile relationships in the past, this was the first time violence had become so physically evident in public. She filed for divorce within days, ending the marriage just 2 months after it began. While some questioned her decision to walk away so quickly, Evelyn stood firm. She refused to normalize abuse even when her critics accused her of capitalizing on the situation. In interviews, she detailed the emotional pain that came with realizing the man she loved had crossed an unforgivable line. Her reality stardom, once a platform for drama, suddenly became a space for healing and advocacy. Post-divorce, Evelyn became a vocal advocate for domestic violence awareness. She partnered with various organizations to support women escaping abusive environments and launched campaigns to encourage survivors to speak out. Her courage helped shift public perception, transforming her from a reality TV figure into a woman with a purpose rooted in personal truth. Today, Lozada continues to navigate life in the spotlight with resilience. Her story isn't just about a failed marriage. It's about recognizing danger, refusing to stay silent, and prioritizing self-respect over reputation. The pain she endured in those 41 days echoes far beyond headlines. It stands as a stark reminder that even glamorous lives can be derailed by a single violent act. Evelyn's decision to walk away was more than survival. It was a declaration of self-worth. Ensa Cosby. Ensa Cosby, daughter of iconic comedian Bill Cosby, lived her life under the weight of immense fame and family controversy. Though she largely remained outside the public eye, Ensa's personal life was anything but peaceful. Her brief and painful marriage to Martin Scott, a man she once believed to be her soulmate, ultimately contributed to a life punctuated by heartbreak, betrayal, and deep emotional scars. In the early 1990s, Ensa and Martin married during a period when her family's public image was still pristine. However, behind closed doors, the relationship quickly turned toxic. Martin, while outwardly supportive, was reportedly unfaithful and emotionally distant. Friends noted a shift in Ensa's demeanor. Once confident and passionate, she became more reclusive, withdrawn, and visibly weighed down by marital strife. Their relationship suffered further under the immense pressure of being tied to the Cosby legacy, particularly as Bill Cosby's reputation began to unravel in the late 2000s and 2010s due to numerous allegations of sexual misconduct. Though Ensa defended her father publicly, calling the accusations unfair and unjust privately, her own emotional turmoil deepened. She found herself battling not only personal betrayal from her husband, but also the suffocating scrutiny of the media and public opinion. By 2000, the marriage ended in divorce after prolonged tension and an exhausting custody battle. Martin's betrayal had already fractured her trust, but the legal proceedings drained her emotionally and financially. Despite her attempts to rebuild a private life, the scars remained. Ensa later struggled with kidney disease, a chronic illness that was both physically debilitating and compounded by years of unresolved emotional pain. She passed away in February 2018 at the age of 44 from renal disease while awaiting a transplant. Her death shocked many who knew little of her suffering. While most of the media focused on her connection to her famous father, few acknowledged the private heartbreaks that defined much of her adult life. Ensa Cosby's story is not just a footnote in a larger celebrity saga. It's a solemn reminder that personal pain can be magnified when lived in the shadow of fame, and that toxic relationships can leave lasting wounds even when hidden from public view. Her life, marked by endurance through betrayal, deserves to be remembered with dignity and empathy. Jesse Jackson Jr. Jesse Jackson Jr., the son of iconic civil rights leader Jesse Jackson Sr., once held the hopes of a new generation of black leadership. As a U.S. congressman from Illinois, he was articulate, progressive, and determined to make a difference. But beneath his polished image was a crumbling marriage and a life plagued by poor decisions, some of which would send both him and his wife to federal prison. Jackson married Sandra "Sandy" Stevens, a politically savvy Chicago alderman and lawyer. Their union appeared ideal, a power couple rising through the ranks. However, their relationship, once grounded in mutual ambition, slowly deteriorated into secrecy, rivalry, and criminal behavior. The trust between them dissolved, replaced by competing agendas and reckless indulgence in luxury. Between 2005 and 2012, the couple illegally spent more than $750,000 of campaign funds on personal luxuries. The purchases included a $43,000 Rolex mink coats vacations and even memorabilia from Michael Jackson's estate. Their misuse of funds became a symbol of entitlement and hubris. By 2013, the Justice Department indicted both Jackson and his wife for conspiracy and fraud. Jesse Jr. received a 30-month sentence. Sandy was sentenced to 12 months. During their staggered prison terms, so one parent could remain with their children, their marriage finally collapsed. The years of shared deceit, public shame, and incarceration had destroyed the bond. Jackson filed for divorce in 2018. The scandal didn't just end careers, it deeply affected their children's family legacy and public image. Jesse Jackson Jr.'s fall from grace was steep, from a potential senator or even presidential candidate to a disgraced ex-congressman whose personal and professional life was gutted by greed and a broken marriage. The story of Jesse and Sandy Jackson isn't just one of political scandal. It's the tragic unraveling of a partnership that prioritized power over principle. Their relationship began with promise, but ended as a cautionary tale of how unchecked ambition and mistrust can poison even the most promising unions. Tamika Foster. Tamika Foster, a renowned fashion stylist with a formidable career in the entertainment world, gained national attention, not just for her work with major stars, but for her high-profile and deeply painful marriage to R&B sensation Usher Raymond. Though her name became widely known after their 2007 wedding, what followed was far from a fairy tale. From the start, the union was met with public skepticism. Usher's fans accused Tamika, who was older and had children from a previous relationship, of being opportunistic. Compounding matters, his mother, Jonetta Patton, disapproved and refused to attend the wedding. Tamika stood firm through the criticism, hoping love would prevail. But within a year, whispers of infidelity and control issues surfaced. Behind the glamorous photos and red carpet appearances, their marriage became a battleground of mistrust and emotional strain. Tamika alleged that Usher was frequently absent and unfaithful, while Usher claimed she was controlling and combative. The birth of their two sons brought joy but couldn't repair the growing rift. By 2009, they were embroiled in a contentious divorce. The legal battle that followed was brutal. Usher was granted primary custody of their sons in 2012, a devastating blow to Tamika, who was already grieving the loss of her 11-year-old son, Kylie Glover, from a previous relationship. He had died in a tragic jet ski accident, compounding her emotional suffering. Despite the divorce and public humiliation, Tamika refused to be silenced. She returned to her roots in fashion, authored a book, and became an advocate for grieving parents. Her resilience turned personal tragedy into a platform for healing and empowerment. She continues to raise her children and navigate public life with dignity. Tamika's story illustrates how even successful, independent women can be pulled into destructive relationships. Her experience serves as a reminder that not all heartbreaks are visible, and that strength often grows in the aftermath of loss and betrayal. Omarosa Manigault. Omarosa Manigault, a television personality and political operative, has long been a lightning rod for controversy. Known for her sharp wit and fearless ambition, she built a public persona as a savvy, no-nonsense woman. But in her private life, particularly in her marriage to Aaron Stallworth, she faced a far more personal kind of betrayal, one that threatened her stability, career, and emotional well-being. Omarosa married Stallworth, a former marketing executive, in 2000. Initially, the relationship appeared stable and grounded, but over time, cracks appeared. Close friends described Aaron as distant and opportunistic, using Omarosa's fame to access social and financial privileges. When she confronted him about erratic spending and suspicious behavior, she learned of infidelities and mounting debts. The situation deteriorated when Omarosa discovered that Stallworth had secretly refinanced their home to invest in a failed tech startup without her consent. This betrayal put her in financial jeopardy. She divorced him in 2005, but not before her name was entangled in multiple legal and financial messes tied to her husband's actions. Despite the pain, Omarosa didn't retreat. She channeled her frustration into career momentum, returning to The Apprentice, where her brash persona made her both a villain and a star. Later, she controversially joined the Trump administration as a White House aide, proving she could still navigate high-stakes environments despite her personal setbacks. While her public image has remained divisive, her experience with Stallworth shaped her approach to life and business. She became more guarded, strategic, and vocal about financial literacy and relationship boundaries. Her past marriage left emotional wounds, but also reinforced her resolve to never again be blindsided by someone hiding behind a charming smile. Omarosa's story is proof that even the strongest personalities can be deceived. But it's also a testament to the power of reinvention and the value of knowing your worth before someone else tries to define it for you. Lisa Wu. Lisa Wu, best known for her role on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, and as a successful businesswoman, actress, and writer, lived much of her early fame under the public assumption of having it all. But behind the designer clothes and luxury lifestyle was a deeply painful reality shaped by betrayal, emotional conflict, and an unbalanced marriage to R&B singer Keith Sweat. The two married in 1992 during the height of Keith's career. Their union seemed like a perfect blend of glamour and success, Wu with her media ventures and Sweat with chart-topping hits. Yet the marriage quickly began to show cracks. Friends noted Keith's controlling behavior and a possessiveness that left Lisa feeling isolated from her support system. Allegations of verbal and emotional abuse surfaced privately, with Lisa later sharing in interviews that she felt silenced in the relationship. Keith, protective of his public image, rarely acknowledged Lisa's ambitions or allowed her independence. Even more devastating were the accusations of infidelity. Lisa reportedly discovered repeated betrayals, but at the time, she lacked the platform or power to fight back publicly. By 2002, the relationship had unraveled completely. The couple divorced in a tense legal battle during which Lisa lost primary custody of their two sons, a heartbreaking outcome that left her feeling publicly humiliated and privately devastated. The courts favored Keith, citing his financial stability and Lisa's media aspirations as signs of instability. She walked away with little emotionally and financially. For years, Lisa fought to regain her footing. She channeled her pain into entrepreneurial ventures, writing real estate and launching her own home decor line. When Real Housewives offered her a platform, she used it to tell her story on her terms. While she maintained respect for Keith as her children's father, she never denied the emotional scars left by the marriage. Lisa Wu's journey is a stark reminder that even the most polished public personas can hide years of suffering. She transformed from a silenced spouse into a woman who controls her narrative, one business move, one brave conversation at a time. Tisha Campbell. Tisha Campbell, celebrated for her comedic roles in 90s sitcoms like Martin and My Wife and Kids, was once part of one of Hollywood's favorite couples. Her marriage to actor Dwayne Martin lasted over 2 decades. But what appeared to be a rock-solid union was actually a long, painful descent into debt betrayal and emotional exhaustion. The couple wed in 1996 and quickly became known for their chemistry and devotion. But as the years passed, their finances spiraled out of control. In 2016, Tisha filed for bankruptcy, revealing they owed more than $15 million in back taxes, unpaid loans, and credit card debt. The public was stunned. How could two television stars with successful careers fall so far? Behind the scenes, Tisha had spent years trying to keep the family afloat. She later disclosed that Dwayne had been hiding assets, funneling money into phantom business projects, and making unilateral financial decisions without her consent. Their shared income, once a source of pride, had become a black hole. Tisha was forced to take jobs just to pay for her children's schooling, while Dwayne continued living lavishly. But it wasn't just about the money. Tisha's trust had been shattered. She filed for divorce in 2018, citing irreconcilable differences and years of deception. The legal battle that followed was contentious. Dwayne reportedly tried to smear her reputation in court documents, but Tisha stood firm, tired of being manipulated. After finalizing the divorce in 2020, Tisha focused on healing. She began speaking openly about emotional abuse, rebuilding her career with voice acting, independent film roles, and music. She also became an advocate for women in similar situations, those who had given everything in a marriage only to be left with nothing. Tisha Campbell's story shows that even seemingly strong relationships can be built on shaky ground. Her resilience proves that even after financial collapse and emotional betrayal, it's possible to rise again, smarter, stronger, and more self-aware. Halle Berry. Halle Berry, the first black woman to win an Academy Award for Best Actress, has long been admired for her talent, beauty, and elegance. But her personal life has often been anything but glamorous. Her marriages to baseball player David Justice and singer Eric Benet left her emotionally wounded and questioning her ability to love and be loved without pain. In 1993, Berry married David Justice. From the outside, the pairing seemed ideal, two successful, beautiful people in the prime of their careers. But behind the scenes, Halle was enduring a relationship marked by volatility and domestic violence. She later revealed that an abusive partner, widely speculated to be Justice, though she never named him directly, hit her so hard that she permanently lost hearing in one ear. The emotional toll was even deeper. The marriage ended in 1997, but the trauma lingered. Still yearning for love, Berry found comfort in singer Eric Benet. Their 2001 wedding marked a fresh start, or so she thought. Benet publicly showered her with affection and praise, but privately battled sex addiction. Within months, Halle discovered multiple affairs. Eric admitted to cheating, blaming his compulsive behavior, and even entered rehabilitation. Despite trying to salvage the relationship, Berry could no longer endure the heartbreak. Their divorce in 2005 left her questioning not just her partners, but herself. How had she repeatedly chosen men who hurt her? Years later, Berry spoke candidly about hitting emotional rock bottom. She confessed to suicidal thoughts and the long journey of therapy and self-discovery that followed. Her later relationships, including with Olivier Martinez and Gabriel Aubry, also ended in court disputes, further reinforcing her fear of romantic vulnerability. Today, Berry is open about her emotional evolution. She focuses on motherhood, self-love, and redefining relationships on her own terms. Her story is one of repeated heartbreak, but also one of fierce personal transformation. Halle Berry's experiences reflect how even the most accomplished women can fall into destructive relationships. Her journey, marked by silent suffering and ultimate empowerment, is a powerful lesson in rebuilding from within. Mary J. Blige. Mary J. Blige, crowned the Queen of Hip-Hop Soul, is celebrated for turning raw pain into timeless music. But perhaps her greatest heartbreak didn't come from the stage, it came from her 13-year marriage to Martin Kendu Isaacs, a relationship that began with love but ended in betrayal, emotional damage, and financial devastation. Blige married Isaacs, her former manager, in 2003. At first, he was a stabilizing presence during a time when she was overcoming addiction and past trauma. She credited him for helping her stay focused and grounded. However, as the years went on, cracks began to show. While Mary worked tirelessly to keep her career afloat, Kendu was reportedly funneling her earnings into luxury expenses not for her, but for a much younger woman he was allegedly seeing behind her back. Blige discovered that Isaacs had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on private planes, high-end gifts, and even a lavish PR campaign, all while she was touring to pay the bills. In 2016, she filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, but her nightmare didn't end there. Kendu demanded $129,000 a month in spousal support, claiming he had become accustomed to the lifestyle Mary's fame provided. Though the court ultimately reduced the amount, Mary was still ordered to pay temporary support of $30,000 a month. At the time, she admitted in interviews that she was drained and financially burdened, barely keeping up with obligations. Worse yet, the divorce forced her to tour non-stop just to maintain stability, turning her music, once a source of freedom, into a lifeline for survival. But Mary didn't crumble. She released the Grammy-nominated album Strength of a Woman, using the pain to fuel her art. Her story reflects the reality that betrayal isn't always loud or violent. Sometimes it's quiet, calculated, and comes from the person you trust most. Mary J. Blige emerged not as a broken woman, but as a force unshaken by loss, redefining what it means to fight for your worth after being nearly emptied. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston was once the most powerful voice in the world, a pop and R&B megastar with unmatched vocal range and grace. But the woman behind I Will Always Love You lived through a marriage that stripped away her light. Her 14-year relationship with Bobby Brown, beginning in 1992, remains one of the most tragic celebrity love stories ever told. When Whitney and Bobby married, the world watched with curiosity. He was the bad boy of R&B, she was America's sweetheart. But what began with hope turned into chaos. Their life together became a swirl of codependency, jealousy, and substance abuse. Bobby was controlling and volatile. Houston later admitted he spit on her, cursed at her, and pushed her during arguments. Under his influence, Whitney's drug use escalated. Their home became a war zone of instability, especially painful considering their daughter Bobby Christina was growing up in the same environment. Whitney's once dazzling career faltered. Canceled performances, missed interviews, and tabloid headlines replaced her chart dominance. Her voice, her health, and her confidence all deteriorated. Despite multiple rehab stints, public interventions from family and fans' pleas, Whitney remained tethered to Bobby. Their 2005 reality show, Being Bobby Brown, revealed alarming glimpses into their erratic and destructive behavior. Finally, in 2007, she filed for divorce, but by then the emotional wreckage was undeniable. Her tragic death in 2012 at just 48, found unresponsive in a hotel bathtub after years of struggling with addiction, was the result of a storm that began long before. While her marriage may not have physically killed her, it played a devastating role in the collapse of one of music's greatest legacies. Whitney's story is heartbreaking not just because of what she lost, but because of how many still wish she had escaped sooner. Her love sadly became her undoing. Gary Coleman. Gary Coleman, once America's favorite child actor from Diff'rent Strokes, spent his adulthood fighting for control of his life. After years of legal and financial struggles, his marriage to Shannon Price in 2007 was meant to be a turning point. Instead, it became a deeply disturbing chapter, filled with manipulation, neglect, and unanswered questions surrounding his untimely death. Coleman had always faced adversity. He suffered from a congenital kidney condition that stunted his growth and required lifelong treatment. Despite his early fame, by his 30s, he was bankrupt, overworked, and disillusioned with the industry that once profited off his charm. Shannon Price entered his life when he was searching for peace, but what followed was anything but. Their marriage, brief and explosive, was marked by volatile arguments and alleged physical altercations. In 2008, police were called when Price assaulted Gary during a heated exchange. He was deeply affected by the instability, and friends described him as increasingly paranoid and emotionally fragile. The most chilling part of their relationship emerged in 2010, when Coleman fell down the stairs of their Utah home and suffered a fatal brain hemorrhage. According to reports, Price waited hours before calling for medical help. While no charges were filed, many questioned her intentions, especially after she authorized life support to be removed, despite confusion over whether she had the legal authority to do so. Even in death, Gary's troubles continued. Price attempted to claim his estate, sparking a bitter legal battle with his ex-manager and former guardians. The public perception of her was unflattering. Many saw her as someone who exploited a vulnerable man for attention and possible financial gain. Gary Coleman died at age 42, not just from injury, but from a life filled with exploitation, including a marriage that offered neither love nor protection. His story serves as a warning that even those who bring joy to millions can be forgotten and mistreated by the very people closest to them. Tina Turner. Tina Turner is more than a music icon. She is a symbol of survival. With electrifying performances and a voice that could shake stadiums, she ruled stages across the globe. But behind her powerhouse image was a marriage so brutal it nearly destroyed her physically, emotionally, and spiritually. In 1962, Turner, then still Anna Mae Bullock, married musician Ike Turner, who had discovered and renamed her. At first, their union seemed destined for musical greatness, forming the legendary Ike and Tina Turner Revue. But what developed behind closed doors was a violent and dehumanizing partnership. Ike controlled every aspect of her life, from her career to her finances, and subjected her to repeated physical beatings. Tina later recounted how Ike would assault her for minor disagreements or when he felt threatened by her rising popularity. She endured broken bones, black eyes, and public humiliation, all while performing like nothing was wrong. One of the most harrowing incidents she described was being beaten with a wooden shoe stretcher, then forced to go on stage minutes later, smiling through pain. By 1976, Turner had reached her breaking point. With only 36 cents and a mobile gas card in her pocket, she fled their Dallas hotel room while he slept. Her escape wasn't just physical, it was a defiance of years of manipulation and fear. The divorce, finalized in 1978, left her with none of the joint earnings, not even royalties. All she asked to keep was her stage name, Tina Turner. Her comeback is now legendary. Private Dancer 1984 sold over 10 million copies, making her one of the most successful solo female rock artists in history. She won Grammys, toured globally, and told her story in books and films to inspire other survivors. Tina Turner's life proves that liberation from abuse is not only possible, it can lead to extraordinary reinvention. Her escape from Ike Turner is not just a tale of survival, it's a blueprint for reclaiming power, voice, and identity. Vivica A. Fox. Vivica A. Fox, known for her commanding screen presence in films like Set It Off and Kill Bill, has always embodied confidence and charisma. Yet her brief marriage to singer Christopher 6ix9ine Harvest in the late 1990s left her emotionally and financially depleted, showing that even the strongest women can be taken advantage of when blinded by love. Fox married Harvest in 1998, hoping to build a partnership rooted in trust and ambition. However, she soon discovered that her new husband had little drive and zero plans to contribute. Vivica became the sole provider footing the bills, while Christopher spent extravagantly on designer clothes, expensive cars, and luxury vacations. What made the situation worse was his apathy toward her success. Rather than supporting her, he resented her spotlight. Arguments grew and communication broke down. Fox later admitted that she was in denial for years, convincing herself that things would change. But the reality was clear: she was in a one-sided relationship with a man more invested in her bank account than her heart. In 2002, the couple divorced. Harvest demanded spousal support, despite never having contributed meaningfully to the marriage. The experience left Vivica not only with financial burdens, but with emotional damage that took years to process. She returned home to stacks of unpaid bills and a deep sense of betrayal. Fox used her pain as fuel. In 2003, she landed a key role in Kill Bill, channeling her frustration into one of her most explosive performances. Off-screen, she focused on rebuilding her life financially, emotionally, and spiritually. She's since become a vocal advocate for women's empowerment and personal accountability in relationships. Vivica A. Fox's story is a reminder that being successful doesn't protect anyone from being used, but it also shows that women who know their worth can rise again and shine even brighter. Star Jones. Star Jones, former co-host of The View, was once celebrated as a trailblazer, an attorney, journalist, and television personality with a commanding presence. But her marriage to Al Reynolds in 2004 turned into one of the most humiliating chapters of her life, exposing the dangers of trusting the wrong partner. Their wedding was a media event, complete with celebrity guests, designer gowns, and exclusive sponsorship deals. But while Star basked in the glow of public adoration, Al Reynolds was quietly exploiting the situation. He had no real career of his own and soon became dependent on Star's income. He lived lavishly, enjoying the perks of fame without contributing financially or emotionally. Rumors quickly swirled about his sexuality and infidelity. Star, ever the professional, remained composed on air, but behind the scenes, she was emotionally unraveling. She lost dramatic amounts of weight, battled anxiety, and kept up appearances while her world fell apart. In 2008, the couple divorced. Star was forced to pay a sizable settlement to Reynolds, who walked away with cash property and a reputation built on her name. She, on the other hand, faced ridicule and public judgment. Many accused her of being blind or desperate, but few understood the depth of the betrayal she endured. Jones refused to remain a victim. She returned to her roots: law advocacy and broadcasting. She became a prominent voice for heart health awareness after surviving open heart surgery and wrote candidly about her emotional recovery in her memoir. Star Jones' experience illustrates that even brilliant, capable women can be deceived by charm. But it also proves that strength isn't in never falling. It's in rising again with clarity, self-respect, and resilience. Iyanla Vanzant. Before she became a spiritual leader, best-selling author and host of Iyanla, Fix My Life. Iyanla Vanzant endured a reality far darker than any story she would later help others heal from. At just 18 years old in 1971, she married a man known publicly as Yemi, often referred to as Kenny, in past interviews, believing their union would lift her out of poverty and pain. Instead, it became a harrowing experience defined by abuse addiction and emotional ruin. Shortly after their wedding, Iyanla realized her husband was not the partner she hoped for. He was unemployed, heavily reliant on drugs and alcohol, and extremely volatile. As his substance abuse deepened, so did the violence. Iyanla became the target of regular beatings, punched, choked, thrown against walls for reasons that often made no sense. She once revealed that she lost a pregnancy due to a savage assault. Trapped in a cycle of fear and shame, she tried to maintain the marriage for the sake of her children, all while hiding bruises and pretending things were normal. The emotional damage extended beyond her body, her sense of worth, identity, and sanity eroded by daily terror. But in 1979, during one of her husband's arrests for disorderly conduct, she fled with her children and never looked back. Homeless, jobless, and without a college degree, Iyanla washed dishes and worked office jobs to survive. But she also began to write, and those writings became her salvation. Her transformation from battered wife to motivational powerhouse wasn't instant. It was forged in silence, struggle, and relentless self-reinvention. Today, Iyanla's story is one of triumphant escape, but she never forgets her past. She uses her platform to teach women how to recognize red flags, reclaim their power, and understand that love without safety is not love at all. LaToya Jackson. LaToya Jackson, often overshadowed by the towering fame of her siblings Michael and Janet, carved out her own presence in music and entertainment. But behind her glamorous image was an almost decade-long marriage to Jack Gordon that felt less like a relationship and more like imprisonment. In 1989, LaToya married Gordon in a secret Las Vegas ceremony. From the outset, the relationship was abnormal, None of the Jackson family were invited, and friends expressed immediate concern. Their fears were justified. Jack Gordon became LaToya's manager, gatekeeper, and captor. He cut off her contact with family, seized control of her finances, and dictated every move of her career. He forced her into nude photo shoots and humiliating contracts, all under the threat of violence. LaToya later disclosed that Gordon beat her regularly, held her at gunpoint, and once locked her in a closet for trying to call her brother Michael. One of the most chilling incidents occurred when he starved her for days in a Milan hotel room simply to punish her for disobedience. She became visibly thinner, mentally exhausted, and spiritually broken. For nearly 8 years, LaToya lived in silence, her cries for help unheard or disbelieved. In 1997, with the help of her brother Randy and a daring escape plan, she broke free from Gordon's grip. She filed for divorce and over time began to rebuild her life and relationship with her family. She later wrote a memoir detailing the abuse, bravely using her platform to shed light on domestic violence in high-profile relationships. LaToya's courage in escaping and speaking out turned her into a quiet heroine for survivors. Her journey proves that even those raised in privilege and fame are not immune to manipulation and fear, and that freedom is always worth the fight. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye, the sole legend behind Let's Get It On and What's Going On. Left behind a musical legacy matched by few, but his personal life was filled with turmoil. His marriage to Anna Gordy Gaye, sister of Motown founder Berry Gordy, was less a romance than a contract of control that haunted him for decades. They married in 1963 when Marvin was just 24 and Anna was 41. From the beginning, the relationship was unbalanced. Anna wielded tremendous influence in the Motown empire while Marvin was still rising. He initially saw her as a mentor and guide, but the dynamic quickly shifted into one of dominance and resentment. Anna controlled Marvin's finances, wardrobe, and professional connections. As their intimacy faded, their home became a battlefield. They both engaged in affairs, Marvin with younger women, Anna, with men who reportedly flaunted their presence in front of him. In the early 1970s, Anna's lavish spending worsened Marvin's financial troubles. She dragged him through a grueling divorce that forced him to forfeit royalties from his album Hear My Dear as alimony, a record Marvin famously turned into a bitter soundtrack of his pain. He laid bare every ugly detail of their relationship in its lyrics. The emotional fallout was immense. Marvin spiraled into drug addiction, paranoia, and self-imposed exile in Europe. Though he later returned to music with sexual healing, he never escaped the shadow of that first destructive love. In 1984, during a heated argument, Marvin was fatally shot by his father, a tragic ending for a man already emotionally exhausted. Marvin Gaye's marriage didn't just derail his finances, it damaged his mental health and played a key role in his lifelong instability. It's a heartbreaking chapter in the story of one of music's greatest voices, Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams built her empire with sharp wit, bold commentary, and fearless questions. From radio shock jock to daytime TV royalty, she made a career of unveiling the truth. But behind her on-camera confidence was a marriage so deeply rooted in deception, it unraveled her both professionally and personally. In 1997, Wendy married Kevin Hunter, a man she believed would be her partner in both life and business. And for a time, he was acting as her manager, co-producer, and strategic advisor. But beneath the surface, Kevin was building a life of betrayal. Over 2 decades, he exerted near-total control over Wendy's finances, schedule staff, and even her social circle. What Wendy mistook for guidance was in reality manipulation. Behind her back, Kevin was funneling her money into a double life with a longtime mistress, Sharina Hudson. Lavish apartments, luxury cars, and spa retreats, all funded by Wendy's earnings. The deception came to light in 2019 when the mistress gave birth to Kevin's child. Wendy collapsed emotionally. She was found in a state of disarray, hospitalized, and admitted to rehab. On camera, she continued to host her show, but her speech faltered. Her memory faded, and her presence dimmed. She later revealed that she had been living in a sober house during the breakdown of her marriage, trying to hide the devastation from fans. The couple divorced in 2020. Kevin left with not just a financial settlement, but years of her prime and pieces of her identity. By 2021, Wendy disappeared from the public eye entirely. Reports emerged that she had lost control of her estate and was under financial guardianship. A woman once known for her razor-sharp opinions was now struggling to remember basic details of her own life. Wendy Williams' story is a haunting example of how even the most empowered women can be manipulated by those they love most. Her marriage didn't just cost her money, it cost her peace, health, and clarity. Her fall was public, but her strength in surviving is undeniable. These 23 stories remind us that even icons respected, talented, and admired are not immune to pain behind closed doors. Fame doesn't protect from betrayal, abuse, or manipulation. But through every broken promise and devastating heartbreak, these legends showed incredible resilience. They didn't just survive, they rose, reclaimed their lives, and inspired millions. At Legends of Black Excellence, we honor not just their talent, but their courage to endure the worst and still shine. Which story moved you most or shocked you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about love, survival, and the cost of trusting the wrong person.